Welcome. Masters are talking. Subscribe.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're cracking open a really ancient text.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really excited about this one. It's the Book of Enoch,
It's a good one.
specifically the Epistle of Enoch.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's also called Book 5.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you might be thinking, Enoch?
Who's that?
Well, we're about to unpack some serious wisdom and prophecies from this pretty mysterious figure.
It is a fascinating book. What's really interesting to me about it is that it's like, a message in a bottle from way back when, the distant past.
Right.
But it's specifically aimed at those living in what it calls the last days.
Oh, wow.
I mean, think about that. This message was written thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's intended for us today.
It's crazy.
It gives me chills.
Right. So who is this Enoch guy?
Well,
He describes himself as the seventh from Adam.
right.
I mean, I don't know about you, but that sounds to me like
Yeah.
he's trying to say he's got some serious ancestral cred.
Oh, totally. I mean, right away, right from the get-go.
Yeah.
He's portrayed as a significant figure. He's this righteous dude
Yeah.
who walked with God, and he's eventually taken up to heaven.
Okay.
But before he ascends, he gets these visions and knowledge from angels,
Okay.
which he very carefully records, almost like he knows
Yeah.
that future generations, that's us,
Yeah.
will need this guidance.
Okay. So he's not just some dude with a wild imagination.
No.
He's got divine intel.
Divine intent.
And he's passing it on to us.
Yeah.
And this knowledge is specifically for those living in turbulent times.
Oh, yeah.
Times a lot like ours, I'd say.
Absolutely. Enoch paints this picture of a world that's teetering on the edge.
Oh.
And where wickedness and violence are on the rise?
Okay.
And he doesn't shy away from the consequences.
Uh-oh.
He talks about a great chastisement coming from heaven, this divine judgment on all this wickedness.
That sounds intense, but
Yeah.
isn't there hope too?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, doesn't he also talk about a path for the righteous?
Yes, definitely. Enoch assures the righteous that they will arise from their sleep
Okay.
and receive wisdom and protection. Imagine that, awakening to a reality where you're bathed in eternal goodness,
Wow.
grace, and light.
Yeah.
Your prayers are answered,
Okay.
and you even have a role in judging the wicked.
Oh, wow.
It's a powerful vision of ultimate justice.
Wow. So on one hand,
Yeah.
we got this terrifying judgment,
Right.
and on the other, this incredible awakening for the righteous.
Right.
But
Yeah.
how do we know which path we're on?
Right.
What does Enoch say about how to actually live righteously?
Well, he gets pretty specific, actually. He
Okay.
urges people to choose paths of righteousness
Okay.
over paths of violence.
Got it.
And it's not just about avoiding bad stuff.
Okay.
He talks about actively cultivating love,
Yeah.
uprightness, and staying away from hypocrites, those double-hearted folks
Oh, yeah.
who say one thing but do another, Think about your own life for a sec. Are there any areas where you might be guilty of that?
That hits close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to fall into those traps.
It is.
So Enoch's calling us out on our hypocrisy,
Yeah.
but he's also giving us a roadmap for something better.
Exactly. He's saying, look, the world's full of temptations,
Yeah.
but you have choice.
Mm.
Choose the path of righteousness, even when it's hard. And that's where the real wisdom comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He tells us to reject violence, deceit, blasphemy, and oppression.
Okay.
He encourages us to seek wisdom, hold fast to the truth, and resist those shiny temptations
Right.
that ultimately lead us astray.
It's funny how advice from thousands of years ago can still feel so relevant today.
Right.
I mean, think about how obsessed we are with, material wealth and stuff.
Totally.
Enoch warns against that,
Yeah,
saying we should be focused on storing up treasures in heaven, not on earth.
that's right.
It's like he's peering right into our souls.
It's almost like he's anticipating the challenges that we face today.
Yeah.
Like he's saying, hey, future generations, don't get caught up in the same traps
Yeah.
that brought down civilizations before you.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
So far, we've been talking about this in broad strokes.
Yeah.
Righteousness versus wickedness.
Right.
Judgment versus reward.
Sure.
But then Enoch throws in these weeks.
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like some sort of cosmic calendar.
That's a good way to put it.
What's up with that?
Ah, yes. The weeks. This is where it gets
Okay.
even more interesting.
Right.
So Enoch divides history into these weeks.
Okay.
Each one represents a period of time.
Got it.
And he describes specific events and trends
Okay.
that happened during each one. It's like
Okay.
he's giving us this little sneak peek
Yeah.
into the grand scheme of history with all its ups and downs.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Break it down for us.
Okay.
What happens in each of these weeks?
So Enoch says he was born in the first week
Oh.
when judgment and righteousness still endured. So it kind of paints this picture of a time when things were relatively balanced.
Right.
You can imagine a world where things were more in order.
Okay.
You know?
Sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of makes you wonder what went wrong.
Well, hold on tight because in the second week,
Okay.
things take a sharp turn.
Oh, no.
Enoch says, great wickedness arises and deceit shall have sprung up.
Wow.
That's a fall from grace. And there will be a first end.
Ooh, that sounds ominous.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
and here's the glimmer of hope.
Okay.
He also mentions that a man shall be saved.
Okay. So even in the midst of this escalating wickedness,
Right.
there's still a chance for redemption.
There is.
What about the third week? Does it get any better?
Things get even more intense in the third week. Unrighteousness continues to spread.
Oh.
And there's a law made for sinners, but it seems like evil is gaining momentum. But then there's this fascinating line where he mentions a man
Okay.
being elected as the plant of righteous judgment. And his descendants will become the plant of righteousness forevermore.
Okay.
It's like a beacon of hope
Yeah.
emerging from the darkness.
It's this constant tug of war between good and evil.
It is.
Right. So we got wickedness on the rise.
Yeah.
But then this plan of righteousness pops up.
Right.
Okay. What happens in week 4?
Week 4 brings some relief.
Okay.
Enoch talks about visions of the holy and righteous and a law for all generations.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a time when divine guidance and protection
Yeah.
are more readily available to those who seek it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So things are looking up for the righteous.
they are.
They've got visions, laws, maybe even some divine backup.
That's right.
But we're only halfway through these weeks.
Right.
What happens next?
Well, the 5th week is where things get really interesting. Enoch describes it as a time when the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever.
Okay.
I mean, think about what that might represent.
Yeah.
Is it a literal building? Or is it something more symbolic? Like a golden age for the righteous? A time when goodness prevails and there's peace and prosperity?
A golden age. That sounds pretty amazing.
It does.
But knowing how these cycles work,
Uh-oh.
I have a feeling it doesn't last forever.
You got it.
Let's talk about week 6. What goes down there?
You're right to be suspicious.
Okay.
Week 6 takes a dark turn.
Oh, no.
Enoch says that everyone living in this time will be blinded,
Oh, wow.
and their hearts will godlessly forsake wisdom.
Okay.
And then things get really dramatic. He
Yeah.
mentions a man who ascends.
Okay.
And then the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire, and the whole race of the chosen root shall be dispersed.
Whoa. Hold on.
Yeah.
So the house of glory and dominion,
Right.
that golden age you were just talking about,
Yeah.
goes up in flames. That's a serious fall from grace.
Yeah. It's a stark reminder that even when things seem great,
Yeah.
the cycles continue
Okay.
and darkness can return,
Okay.
you know? And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
where do we fit into all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Are we in one of the good weeks?
Right?
Or are we headed for one of those fiery ends?
Uh-oh.
That's
That's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
We'll go deeper into those last couple of weeks and see if we can find any clues about where we are in this grand cosmic timeline.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
It's going to be good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
Before we went to break, we were talking about these cycles of history,
Right.
these weeks that Enoch lays out.
Yeah.
And some of these descriptions of what happens in those weeks are pretty intense.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the choices that we make.
Right.
Because Enoch isn't just talking about, you know,
Yeah.
some kind of abstract concept of good versus evil. He's
Uh-huh.
really specific about the consequences
Right.
for those choices.
Yeah, like that whole house of glory and dominion going up in flames.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty powerful image.
It is.
But let's back up a bit and talk about what awaits those who choose the path of righteousness,
Sure.
because those descriptions are pretty awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Enoch talks about the righteous arising from sleep
Right.
and walking in paths of righteousness,
Yeah.
bathed in eternal goodness,
Right.
grace, and light.
It's like this graduation ceremony for the soul.
That's a great way to put it.
But does he give any specifics about what this reward actually looks like. I mean, what do the righteous do all day in this eternal paradise?
Well, he says that their prayers will be answered.
Okay.
And they actually have a role in judging the wicked.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just, sitting around on clouds playing harps all day.
Right.
There's this sense of purpose and responsibility even. And they get protection from angels.
Right.
And their spirits find rest and blessings.
So even in death,
Right.
there's hope for a future resurrection and a continuation of that blessed existence.
Yeah.
That's a pretty comforting thought.
Yeah. Especially if you're facing persecution.
Right. Exactly.
In this life.
Now, on the flip side, we have Enoch's descriptions of the fate of the wicked.
Yes.
And those are pretty intense.
They are quite intense.
Spirits cast into a furnace of fire. That doesn't sound too pleasant.
Not at all. And he doesn't stop there.
Right.
He talks about the wicked being destroyed,
Yeah.
shamed, cast into darkness and eternal torment. And he emphasizes that all their worldly wealth and power won't protect them.
It's like he's saying, you might be king of the hill now,
Yeah.
but in the grand scheme of things,
Right.
that's all temporary.
Totally.
True power comes from aligning yourself with righteousness.
Absolutely.
But what about the here and now?
Yeah.
Does Enoch give any guidance on how to live now while we're still navigating these turbulent times?
Yeah, there are actually some passages that address exactly that.
Okay.
Remember those paths of righteousness and paths of violence we were talking about?
I do, yeah.
Well, in chapter 5,
Yeah.
he gives some more specific advice
Okay.
on how to stay on that right path,
Yeah.
even when the world around you seems to be going crazy.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's hear some ancient wisdom.
Well, he tells his son, Methuselah,
Okay.
and by extension, all future generations,
Right.
to wait for those days till an end is made of those who work evil. So he's saying, be patient, endure, don't lose hope.
Okay.
Even when things seem bleak,
Okay.
justice will prevail in the end.
That's powerful, especially in a world where it often feels like the bad guys are winning.
It does.
He's reminding us that there's a bigger picture at play.
Right.
Some cosmic plan that's unfolding.
And he even shares a vision he had
Okay.
to kind of illustrate this. He talks about this vision of a flame of fire blazing brightly and things like shining mountains circling and sweeping to and fro.
Wow. That sounds kind of wild.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
What does it all mean?
So he asks an angel about it.
Okay.
And the angel explains that this fiery place is where the spirits of sinners and blasphemers are cast,
Oh.
a place of weeping and crying and lamentation and strong pain.
Okay, so that's the bad place.
Yeah.
But he also saw something else, right?
Right.
Something about the spirits of the good.
Yeah. He describes the spirits of the humble,
Okay.
those who afflicted their bodies for God,
Right.
and who loved God and loved neither gold nor silver nor any of the good things which are in the world.
Okay.
These are the ones who will be rewarded.
So it's not just about avoiding sin.
Right.
It's about actively pursuing righteousness
Yeah.
and putting spiritual values above material wealth.
Yeah. What does that look like in your own life?
It's a good question. It makes me wonder if I'm doing things out of love and a desire to serve a higher purpose,
Right.
or if I'm driven by ego or greed,
Yeah.
or the need for approval.
Right. That's deep.
It's like Enoch is challenging us to look beyond the surface,
Yeah.
examine our hearts,
Yeah.
make sure that we're aligned with what truly matters.
And he doesn't just leave us with this
Yeah.
vague idea of being good.
Right.
He gives concrete examples of what that looks like.
Okay, lay it on us. What are some of Enoch's practical tips for living a righteous life?
So one thing he emphasizes is faithfulness.
Okay.
He says, "For to the faithful, he will give faithfulness in the habitation of upright paths."
Okay.
It's about aligning our actions with our belief, even when it's hard.
Right.
And he talks about truth and knowledge
Yeah.
and warns against those who distort righteous words and spread lies.
That feels so relevant today.
I know.
With all the misinformation and propaganda swirling around.
That's-
It's like Enoch is saying, hey, future generations, be careful what you believe.
Yeah.
Seek out the truth, and don't be swayed by those who are trying to deceive you.
Right. And it's not just about consuming information. It's about guarding against deception within ourselves. You know, being godless in our hearts,
Yeah.
lying,
Right.
altering words of righteousness,
Right.
worshiping idols.
It's a tall order.
It is.
But amidst all these warnings,
Yeah.
he also offers hope, right?
Yes.
Didn't he talk about books being given to the righteous and wise?
Yeah. He prophesies that books will be given to become a cause of joy and of brightness and much wisdom,
Okay.
and that these books will lead the righteous to understanding
Right.
and will be a source of reward.
That's crazy.
It's almost like he's anticipating the very book we're discussing.
Whoa. Mind blown. So in a way, by engaging with this text,
Yeah,
we're fulfilling part of Enoch's prophecy.
that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what other wisdom might be hidden within these ancient texts.
Yeah.
Just waiting to be rediscovered and applied to our lives.
What responsibility do we have to
Wow.
seek out truth, to
Yeah.
guard against deception,
Right.
and ensure that wisdom is passed down to future generations?
Those are some pretty heavy questions.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of a deep dive like this.
Yeah.
It's not just about learning facts.
Right.
It's about wrestling with these big ideas.
Yeah.
And seeing how they connect to our lives.
And recognizing that even though this text was written thousands of years ago,
Right.
it still has the power to speak to us today.
It does.
It reminds us that the challenges we face,
Yeah.
the choices we make,
Right.
the struggle between good and evil,
Yeah.
they're all part of a larger story that's been unfolding since the beginning of time.
And that story isn't over yet.
Nope.
We've still got those last 2 weeks of Enoch's cosmic calendar to unpack.
We're too.
And I have a feeling things are about to get even more interesting.
Uh-oh.
But before we jump into that, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
Okay.
What are your biggest takeaways?
You know, for me, it's this emphasis on personal responsibility.
Hmm.
You know, Enoch is saying, look, the world is a messy place
Yeah.
and there are forces of darkness at work,
Right.
but ultimately you have a choice in how you respond.
Right.
You can choose the path of righteousness,
Yeah.
or you can choose the path of violence. And those choices have real consequences,
Mhm.
both in this life and in the next.
It's a good reminder that we're not just passive observers
Yeah,
in this cosmic drama.
right.
We're active participants,
Absolutely.
and our choices matter.
And it's not just about our individual salvation. It's about
No.
playing our part in bringing about a more just and righteous world for everyone.
Okay, I'm ready to dive back into those weeks.
Okay.
Let's talk about those final 2 weeks and see what Enoch has to say about the ultimate fate of humanity. Stay with us, folks, because the deep dive continues. Welcome back, deep divers. We're in the final stretch of our exploration of the Epistle of Enoch.
I know, I'm excited.
This ancient text
Yeah.
is full of twists and turns,
It is.
just like those weeks we've been
Yeah.
unpacking.
It's like a cosmic thriller, right?
It is.
With high stakes,
Yeah,
dramatic twists,
totally.
and a message that resonates across millennia.
Okay, so we left off with week 6.
Right.
Where things went from House of Glory and Dominion to everything's on fire pretty quickly.
It did.
Where do we go from there?
Okay.
What does week 7 have in store?
Week 7 is a wild ride.
Oh,
Enoch describes it as a time of widespread apostasy,
okay.
a falling away from righteousness.
So it's like humanity hits the self-destruct button.
Yeah, it's not looking good. He talks about an apostate generation arising, a generation that has completely lost its way.
Right?
And remember those who were blinded in week 6?
I do.
Well, in week 7, it seems like that blindness becomes even more pervasive, affecting the hearts and minds of the people.
It's like this downward spiral where every generation strays further from the path of righteousness. It makes you wonder,
Right.
is there any hope at all?
Right.
Is there any way to break the cycle?
Well, even in the midst of all of this apostasy, Enoch offers a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
He says that at the close of the 7th week,
Yeah.
the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness will be chosen
Okay.
to receive sevenfold instruction concerning all his creation.
So even though the majority has turned away,
Right.
there's still a remnant,
Right.
a group that has remained faithful and are chosen for a special purpose.
Yeah.
Who are these elect righteous?
That's a good question.
Are they like some kind of spiritual elite?
It's interesting. He doesn't give us a clear-cut definition,
Right.
but I think based on what we've seen throughout the book,
Yeah.
it seems like these are the people who have consistently chosen the path of righteousness.
Right.
They're the ones that have stayed true to their beliefs even when surrounded by wickedness
Yeah.
and deception. They're the ones who have sought wisdom, guarded their hearts, and lived in accordance with divine principles.
It's like they've been training for this moment,
Right.
preparing themselves for a special mission.
Exactly.
What do you think this sevenfold instruction is all about?
I think it's about receiving a deeper understanding of the divine plan, of God's purpose for humanity and for creation. Like they're being given the knowledge and wisdom that's necessary to rebuild and restore what was lost during those cycles of wickedness.
Wow. So even though the seventh week is a time of great darkness and apostasy,
Right.
it also contains the seeds of renewal.
Yeah.
A potential for a new beginning.
That's right.
But what happens after that? Does Enoch say anything about what comes after those 7 weeks?
That's a great question, and it's one that has fascinated scholars for centuries. Enoch doesn't explicitly outline what happens after the seventh week, but he ends the epistle with a powerful blessing. That I think gives us some clues.
Let's hear it. What's this blessing about?
In chapter 6, he says, "In those days the Lord bade to summon and testify to the children of earth concerning their wisdom. Show unto them, for ye are their guides, and a recompense over the whole earth. For I and my son will be united with them forever in the paths of uprightness in their lives, and ye shall have peace. Rejoice, ye children of uprightness. Amen."
Whoa, that's a lot to unpack.
I know, right?
He's talking about, guys, recompense unity with the divine.
Yeah. What does it all mean?
I think it's a message of hope and ultimate restoration.
Yeah.
It suggests that after those cycles of wickedness and judgment, there will be a time of peace and unity.
Right.
A time when humanity will once again walk in right relationship with the divine.
That's a beautiful thought.
So it's not just about individual salvation.
No.
It's about the restoration of all creation.
Right.
The establishment of a new era of peace and righteousness.
It is.
That's a pretty amazing vision.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Epistle of Enoch, what are your final thoughts? What do you hope our listeners will take away from this exploration?
I hope they'll be inspired by Enoch's message of hope, even in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
I hope they'll be challenged to examine their own lives, to choose the path of righteousness, and to play their part in bringing about a more just and compassionate world.
Me too. And I hope they'll be intrigued enough to seek out the full text of the Book of Enoch. And delve a little deeper into its mysteries, because there's so much more to discover. So much wisdom that can guide us in our own time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking truth.
Eyes anoint you.